Welcome back to MSI 2018, where I am joined by Uzi after RNG's victory over Fnatic, a very hotly contested game. And after you guys got behind early, you and Ming played so enormously well in those team fights to get the win in the end. Can you tell me a bit about playing the team fights versus this composition and how you guys were able to win?
就开始你们有点劣势，然后你和明的配合特别好，然后所以说才慢慢在团战中取得一些胜利。然后你可以讲讲你怎么处理这些团战，如何去用这个阵容去取得你们胜利的。
我觉得就是在我们选择英雄的时候，就是选择到了团战非常强的阵容吧，然后也加上我们的，其实也算是我们就是经常玩的那种阵容，所以说可能会在团战中表现得更好一点。
So they were able to pick a comp that's really good in team fights, and this is a comp that they're really familiar with. So which gives them the confidence and ability to play out their comp in the team fights.
A lot of comfort this time around. You guys seem to have the upper hand over Fnatic now since Worlds, where you beat them in the semi-final, now 2-0 in the group stage. Why do you think you guys are so good against Fnatic specifically?
就好像一直你们都对Fnatic 这战队有胜利，因为你们之前在世界赛也能战胜他们，然后这次又2-0了他们。为什么你们在面对 Fnatic 这支队伍的时候能取得胜利？
其实我自己感觉吧，每次打 Fnatic 的时候，就是玩的会比较的幸运吧，就有很多事情都是非常好运的，然后让我们就是会很顺利的，就是进行接下来的游戏。
Well, usually I think he's really lucky whenever he's playing against Fnatic. There's always those lucky things that they were able to get and to get them the victory.
Oh, okay. Finally, Uzi, you now have your first championship in the LPL, so a lot of people are looking towards what you can do at this MSI, also your first MSI. After playing all the teams and now playing them a second time in the second phase of the group phase, what are your expectations for RNG in the rest of the tournament?
那么也是你第一次拿到 LPL 的冠军，然后这次在 MSI 的话，在第二段的比赛，就下面5场比赛中，你觉得你们的目标或者你自己的期望是什么？
我在最开始的时候就是期望我们怎么说呢？就是我觉得我们肯定会进入到4强嘛，但是我现在希望的就是我们要努力一点，然后真的要拼命的去进到4强嘛，因为成绩不是特别好。
Well, so at first he thought that making to the semifinals is a pretty easy thing, but now he figured it's hard to get. So he will try to play his best to make to the semifinal first.
Okay, looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Uzi. Congratulations. Another win for RNG. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Sharks. And Uzi being very polite there. Just lucky to have phenomenal team
I wish
fights.
I was as lucky as Uzi.
As lucky,
It's all it takes, I guess.
Gentlemen, we're about to jump into Flash Wolves versus EVOS. This is top of the table versus bottom of the table. And it's very, very simple. For both EVOS and Team Liquid, who'll be playing the next game, at 1 win and 4 losses, if they do not start picking up wins now, they are guaranteeing themselves that 5th or 6th seed. So it's very important for EVOS to start looking for some more upsets and, you know, try climb up the standings if they want to make the playoffs.
And while their last game against Flash Wolves was pretty devastating, they have turned in some very solid performances since then. They played King Zone close, they played RNG close, they beat Team Liquid. They have been looking, you know, like a pretty solid team. So we'll have to see if they can just kind of avoid the disastrous early game that they had last time they went up against the Flash Wolves.
Well, we'll find out what they do in terms of picks and bans, gentlemen. LMS's Flash Wolves removing the Graves and the Kha'Zix. Yijin definitely sort of one of the men that makes or breaks EVOS's performance. On the flip side, it's Swain and Kai'Sa. And now we're looking what else gets banned out.
I love that we're seeing a lot of jungle focus from the side of the Flash Wolves. For Yijin, he's had some of his best performances when he's been able to play ganking junglers. Lee Sin and Zac have been 2 big picks for him that he's found a lot of success with. And by banning away the Kha'Zix, even though his day 1 performance was poor, it has been one of the comfort picks for him in his own region.
Certainly has, and Warzone going to be losing one of his biggest comfort picks. That Cassio is something that he has been performing on very well throughout the finals of the play-in, as well as the main stage of MSI. Certainly comfort for him, but you know, Moojin and Yijin both have been really standout junglers in this tournament for their teams, have been looking pretty good, and Yijin was able to get his 1 win on a Zac, you know, another very strong ganking jungler. He looked solid on Lee Sin, so he certainly does have some depth to his champion pool.
Yeah, we need to see how EVOS have evolved. Of course, their first game against LMS's Flash Wolves, day 1, feels so long ago now. It was chaotic, it was messy, it ended in 27 minutes, and EVOS got obliterated.
Yep.
Since then, however, they've slowed down the pace of the game a lot. They've, as you said, Azael, given a few more punches and blows and really made their opponents fight for their wins. And as we jump into their first phase, it's Trundle locked in for the Flash Wolves, and the Skarner being a likely pickup here for EVOS.
You know, and coming into this game, we have to recall the game that EVOS played earlier in the day. Up against Fnatic, Stark in the top lane. This guy was terrifying on the Camille. The fact he was able to split push so much, put so much pressure down onto the opposition, I feel like going towards that side, putting him on a side lane threat that can draw attention and create that kind of pressure is the way in which EVOS could perhaps find the upset against Flash Wolves.
I mean, the fact that red side gives them the option to counter pick.
They could just do all.
And EVOS pretty much say, Vedius, we care not about your diatribe and monologue.
Yeah.
We'll just lock in a good, reliable tank.
I mean, going away from a lot of what Vedius has talked about, you know, them having success with, right? Skarner, not really that ganking jungler. Ornn, certainly not the carry top that can create that pressure for Stark, where he has found a lot of success. It could just simply be another Xayah Rakan is becoming a very, very popular duo throughout this tournament.
Rakan banned 100% of the time on day 1, starts to sneak through day 2. Day 3, we're now seeing the Xayah Rakan combo, what feels like every game. This will be Betty's 4th ADC that he's played on the MSI stage. SwordArt has got his hands on that Rakan for the first time as well. And EVOS have yet to lock in their bottom lane. So let's see what option they go with. It will be the Morgana. We've seen that into the Rakan several times.
We certainly have, and Caitlyn Morgana is such a strong combo into the Rakan because you can black shield the great entrance, hit them with the binding, the trap to follow that up is an incredibly powerful way to play against. The question becomes, will Flash Wolves leave something like that Caitlyn up to even be paired with the Morgana or to Slay, you know, have ideas of his own?
And for EVOS, it's interesting that they're now choosing to ban away mid lane, as this to me suggests that they are looking for something in terms of the first pick. Talia could be something that they look to prioritize. We did see it from Warzone, I believe, yesterday. And by getting him on something that can have wave clear and then roam towards the bottom side of the map, maybe shut down Betty and SwordArt, it's one of the ways in which you can mitigate SwordArt's playmaking potential, but also perhaps hit one of the big carries of Flash Wolves, which is Betty. The risk you then run is, do you then give Maple a free mid lane to farm up and then become the next carry that Flash Wolves have often relied on should they need someone to step up to the plate?
That does not sound like a great idea if I were EVOS. Give Maple some wiggle room. Maple definitely in the discussion for best performing mid laner, one of the best performing mid laners here at MSI. Vladimir is taken away as well, so removing that option. And EVOS and Flash Wolves, they're coming into this phase 2 now. The bottom lane AD carry needs to be locked in. Caitlyn's removed there as well. So you look at Slay's other picks. I mean, Cogmore still up. What else would you consider? I've not been a huge fan of the Jhin so far.
Yeah, I mean, Jhin can also be pretty scary against this Xayah Rakan, who can play pretty aggressively into it. But that being said, you do have the follow-up. You can actually hit that route out of a binding or vice versa. And it is going to be the option, so they're going to be very, very dependent both on the front line, but that Black Shield as well. If you are ever off with your Black Shield, you can see this Jhin going down almost instantly. So a lot of pressure now on RonOP.
I like Jhin when you're ahead. I'm not a huge fan of Jhin when you start to fall behind, and the Xayah Rakan. Let's see what they can do. Obviously leaving the mid lane now picked for Warzone to counter. Ornn will be going up in the top lane. What do we expect Maple to go? What's a comfortable blind pick option here?
Well, I would go for a Xayah. Not only has Maple played a lot of it during the regular season, but both Zoe and Vlad, one of the 2 big champions that are often considered an answer to it. And I feel like that while it is a little bit more on the scaling edge, wouldn't necessarily be the best pick. Ryze is then the next best pick that will kind of fit nicely into this composition for Flash Wolves.
I think Galio can also work here with Rakan. The Galio plus Rakan combo can be pretty powerful. But Karma, another pushing mid laner there, more protection, for Betty, who has been a standout AD carry throughout this tournament. And it's going to be pretty safe as well.
It absolutely will be. So Karma locked in. That Gangplank, by the way, this will be Hanabi's 3rd performance on the champion. We just saw the stats flash up on screen a moment or two ago. The champion itself has an 81% win ratio with 11 picks. It's done very well in the hands of MSI performers. And now Hanabi will get a chance to go 3-0. We saw the Yasuo. It was flirted with the Yasuo meta as MSI is evolving. It will get swapped away from it. Warzone will go a slightly more traditional mid lane in that Ryze. Xayah, what are you seeing from these 2 team compositions now?
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of kind of dominant lanes, honestly, from the side of Flash Wolves. I think while, an Ornn can bully a GP a little bit, that's pretty preferential lane there. I think Karma can, get the push, and when you're going into these tier banner builds, sometimes take over that lane as far as the lane pressure there. On the bottom side as well, a lot of it's going to come down to execution, but there's so much, I think, early power on the side of Flash Wolves that EVS is going to have to be very, very careful to not fall behind.
Yeah, and for EVOS, I'm looking at this as kind of like a pick composition. You have multiple engaged tools. You have a couple flanking options as well with the Ryze. And I think that Siege is decent because of how easy it is to force your opposition away from the tower. You have the Ornn ultimate that can be thrown down. You also have the Jhin ulti, and the threat of all these single target CC abilities can really catch targets out if they overextend. But if they want to get there, they have to find these early leads. And as you were saying, Xayah, I don't know where they're really going to find them, because for Flash Wolves, they're all about playing through this bottom lane. You have the Gangplank global, you have the all-in engage, you have a Trundle that can make, or facilitated with a Karma, making tower dives that much easier. Like, Flash Wolves are coming in saying, we're going to enable Betty, and you guys won't be able to deal with it.
Yeah, whenever you see that Karma mid lane, it sends a pretty big signal that we want to enable somebody else on the team.
Definitely the case. There is a lot of CC, though, coming out from EVS. So, if they are able to find that crowd control, certainly a lot of gank assistance there for the Skarner. When you look at things like the binding, the fracture stun coming out of Skarner, the root from Jhin, there's definitely the potential to lock someone down and take them out.
Well, let's see whether or not the Vietnamese representatives can take down the LMS. Both of these teams and leagues and regions once were in the GPL and since are now separate and independent. So let's see what they can do. I want to just put some numbers as quickly as I can to some of the early game stats that Xayah and Vedius have been talking about. For EVS, in one of their 5 games this groups, they managed to pick up the first dragon. In 2 of the 5 games, first blood, and 0 of them did they get the first tower. To contrast that with Flash Wolves, 4 out of 5 games they got first blood and first dragon, and in all 5 of their previous games, they got the first tower. And they've got lanes that can facilitate all of those things together.
Trevor, are you implying that the Flash Wolves are good at League of Legends?
I am indeed. They're 5-0, and they're trying to make it 6-0. Both teams just going to wave at one another, challenge Yijin Spire. Jules will take that one down. But let's keep a close eye on this early game, because EVOS, they threw themselves in the kitchen sink at Flash Wolves a couple days ago. It didn't work out very well.
But I actually want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit more about like Flash Wolves as a team, because coming in the expectations were low, and going 5-0 in the first half of the groups just kind of defies all expectations, especially after their game versus Kingzone earlier. The fact that they're finding such a successful early game once again speaks to how consistent this team has been.
Look at this. First blue buff, steal, brute forced by Flash Wolves.
Yeah, and it just felt like EVOS was completely unprepared for that. I'm surprised that Yijin even kind of bothered coming over when he was that late. The blast cone had already been killed off, so no real way in, and we'll be just giving up that blue buff.
And Xayah, the first 2 bans from Flash Wolves, the Graves, the Kha'Zix. The first move from Flash Wolves straight into Yijin's face, straight into his jungle. Very clear who Flash Wolves are trying to get uncomfortable and just off his A game as we start the cycle.
And look at Moojin. I think he actually wants to meet him perhaps at the red buff or even the Raptors. He's just trying to straight up be in his face, and you can do this if you're pushing lanes.
Oh, will Slay get slayed? No, manages to flash away, got caught by the knockup, and Moojin sends his regards, gets a little bit of a chomp onto Yijin.
Counter jungling Trundle, Moojin. Another one of the young rookies on the squad, just pushing Yijin around, and here comes an engage.
Oh, look at this! SwordArt manages to find the knockup, summon a heal traded in exchange for the flash and the ignite. Not done yet. A little bit of a stun from Yijin. Managing to get some damage down, continues to trade back and forth, down to 100 HP, defensive flash, first blood, picked up by EVOS.
Yeah, Moojin eventually just seems like he bit off more than he could chew. Maple's getting pushed out by Warzone, and the plan was for Maple to be able to be the faster to roam, but Warzone blocks him out, and they get first blood.
Rule number 1 of finding Skarner, do not fight him in his own territory. He was stood on top of a spire. The bonus stats that he was able to gain off the back of it enabled him to outtrade the Trundle, who was only level 2. And Yijin is able to find the counterplay. You can see here, he secures it first, and then Moojin just stands inside.
Yeah, Moojin just too late to actually get back on the spire. He had claimed it previously, but as soon as you give it up, as you said, he actually pillared him into himself, and that's not a fight he could win.
Just a quick update, gentlemen. After that little boop from Yijin, 2 out of their 6 games have secured first blood. And on the other side, Flash Wolves, it's 4 out of 6. But that's exactly what EVOS needed. Also on the member that was targeted, he was pushed out of his jungle, so it's a good start for EVOS.
And it's the polar opposite to the last game. I mean, if you look back, it was actually Yijin on the Kazakhs giving up a very silly first blood to the Skarner, and now he's going to be off to a much better start.
Experience is what Yijin has gained. I remember the last time this happened, not today.
Let's see what happens as Yijin will once again find Moojin inside Flashwill's jungle. The blue buff was stolen away, so it ends up being a trade, I suppose, to balance it out. And we settle into the slightly more normalized laning phase, but with RonOP and Slay already down some summoner spells on Slay's ADC, he's being pushed backwards, and it's a difficult start. They're already feeling a little in the CS.
Yeah, certainly the case. And he did start boots plus that 4-bot, so going very heavily in the potions, but already having to use 3 of his potions in lane and down both summoners. So if he does get caught by one more engage, certainly could be going down, and he's going to have to be playing very carefully, which can result in falling behind in the farm.
It's so good to see SwordArt using that Battle Dance to dodge away the Dark Binding. Something that we didn't see a whole lot of earlier today. And of course, this sets up Flashwolves' bottom lane very well. The team composition will be playing around them. We've not looked at Hanabi versus Stark. Stark, by the way, 5 of the 6 games he's played this Ornn, so definitely his pick of the tournament. And he's already been shoved in, sort of as you'd expect.
To break it down for you, the Gangplank pressed Q on him, and then it waited till it came up, and then he pressed Q on him.
Okay.
And he hoped for some gold.
Oh, there we go.
As I said,
press
there
Q
you
on
go.
him. I'm waiting for the cooldown again.
It's going to be
Come on,
back
Hanabi.
up.
He can now play top lane.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, thank you. I have now been educated in slot Gangplank in my future games. But the thing is, Stark's still winning on farm. Because one of the big obnoxious things about Ornn that I love is that his W is not only his wave clear tool, but also his trading tool. It gives him a big shield. Every time the Hanabi wants to come up and farm, he's going to get hit by the Bellows Breath. And it just means that not only are you constantly trading into that many minions, but you're also taking all this damage from the Ornn as well. And that's why often you'll see the Gangplank struggle in the early game. But as things progress, it'll get a little bit easier.
EVOS is looking to try to set up a dive here. 4-man bot already, but GP ult does.
Oh, GP ult's available. Where is it? No ways! That's a double root! Managing to turn this around. Betty turns the 4v2 dive with the help of the cannon barrage. Warzone stuck behind enemy territory and will go down. Betty picks up the kills and they turn that around.
Yeah, that was the disaster dive there for EVOS with the GP ultimate available. RonOP is the one tanking the turret. He goes down almost immediately, and Flashwolves bot lane are going to get so much of that.
And you could see that EVOS, they were trying to be proactive. They wanted to get ahead of Flashwolves before they were able to make this level 6 all-in play towards the bot side of the map, but the execution wasn't there. So initially, Slay takes a tower shot. RonOP is now tanking the tower, and he effectively just dies to the tank.
I don't think he realized he had turret aggro. He actually pulled the turret aggro with his W. He dropped it early, and I think he thought someone else was tanking and just really lost track of the situation there. And that is a very, very hefty price to pay.
That sucks.
Cannon Barrage picks up 1 kill, Betty the other, and SwordArt the final. So 3 kills in that turned around dive. The Blade Caller from Betty tagging 2 of the members diving him. Very nicely done. RonOP and Slay will get some chip damage out of SwordArt, but not a huge amount.
And it's always such a bad feeling as a top laner. You know, if you're Stark here, like, yep, doing pretty well, up in farm. Gangplank ults bot, gets a kill and an assist, and you already know Gangplank is going to outscale you, so you kind of have a limited amount of time where you get to have pressure.
Yeah.
And that just cuts it down that much more.
It does indeed. A little bit of an engage here onto RonOP. Almost gets burst down. There's no flash from Betty, though. But they're going to get that out from RonOP. He's able to escape with his life. BF Sword, attack speed dagger into a Zeal. So Betty's going to be very happy with any of these trades. And Stark goes in with the Bellows Breath. Call of the Forge God is available to him. He decides not to pull the trigger.
You know, Slay and RonOP keep trying to go for these trades in the 2 versus 2, and they honestly just keep getting outplayed. SwordArt utilizing the Rakan's mobility extremely effectively, forces so much pressure down onto the duo of EVOS, and they're constantly being put on the back foot. But Yijin has appeared once again. Looking at the teleports, unavailable. Gangplank ulti, unavailable. The Stark.
The Ornn Horn comes down. That will force the flash from Hanabi, and Yijin's not gone into the bottom lane yet.
Remember the last time Stark did this, he solo killed Impact, so Hanabi was like, I must flash if I see Stark ult, and I will be able to survive. But once again, good pressure being applied there from Stark.
Definitely the case, and Yijin, unfortunately for EVOS, not able to find anything on the bottom side of the map, but he has everything available, Predator, Flash, etc.
Oh, okay, good. Stark manages to break down the pillar. Flash is available to him, needs to flash in, get over the wall, won't be able to do so. Moojin just finds him wandering through the river. An easy pickup and an easy kill for Flash Wolves to maintain the gold lead.
I think he was actually just looking for the honey fruit and trying not to go back to base just yet, but you know, sometimes that's the risk you run. If you wander out into the river, you're that low on HP, someone finds you, you just go down.
It's not safe to go alone. Just take a jungler with you. Didn't do that, you got punished for it. So 10 minutes coming up, and Flash Wolves, they're up in kills, they're up in gold. They've got some early pressure despite some of the shenanigans. And Yijin's definitely showed with the rest of the team on the EVOS side, their focus was trying to help Slay and RonOP. You know, they've multiple attempts, multiple visits. It hasn't really paid off yet.
But Yijin still has not actually pulled the trigger on his ultimate. When you have that flash ultimate available with Skarner, you want to be executing on those ganks early and often, and this is what we have to see them be able to pull off. I mean, Jhin ultimate is up, the Morgana ultimate is up, everything is available for Skarner. You need to be able to capitalize on this.
All right, Betty has no flash available, but SwordArt will be found. Instant impale, should get rooted when he comes out of it into a dark binding as well. Slay gets a kill onto SwordArt. Now Betty is the target, or in fact, is it Slay? Featherstorm flashed away from. Now Yijin gets turned on. Maple's not going to find the root just yet as Yijin's able to waddle himself to safety. That's a kill for EVOS.
And Flash Wolves, they always respond so quickly to any play that EVOS is trying to make. Yes, EVOS find themselves a good kill onto SwordArt as he's trying to get vision in the river. But the fact that they then burn 2 flashes off the back of that and may even put pressure down onto Warzone.
Yeah, they can. The Pillar of Ice comes out, slowing Warzone. Teleport will actually complete from SwordArt. He's got that unsealed spellbook.
45 gold, worth.
There we go. Clears out the wave, says thank you very much, Maple. And he starts to make his way down to the bottom lane.
It's going to get scary here for Flash Wolves. They are in the river again. We'll go back to the replay, but Yijin getting pulled in. This is just a pretty nice combo. No real chance for him to get out, but watch Betty and his patience on the ultimate. Waits for the force shot to be in the air, and then immunes that force shot with the ultimate, avoiding it completely, and that means EVOS have to fully retreat.
Things are not looking good for EVOS in this early game so far. It was, as we said, a good gank. This is more of what we wanted to see, but the AD carry is 30 CS down. He's in a matchup that is already difficult to play, and more levels and more items are already coming in for the Flash Wolves. In this 2v2 in the bot lane, they're going to be looking to continue their proactivity. Now, Warzone roaming up to the top side, this is a nice change that we could see, because shutting down the Gangplank and enabling Stark to get out of this lane and start using his ulti to maybe force fights could be one avenue that EVOS used to get back into the game.
Definitely would, but with Maple now having completed the banner, that's going to be very difficult for Warzone anytime you try to actually leave your lane. He only has 1 dematerializer charge left before the banner was completed. So, you know, not a lot left in the tank to deal with that. And, you know, anytime you leave your wave and there's a banner minion pushing in, a lot of turret damage can come down. It's going to be really tough for EVOS because, you know, even looking at Slay on this Jhin, there's so much to deal with as a low mobility AD carry. The Trundle pillar comes in behind you, Gangplank ultimate gets dropped on your face, and then you have a Rakan diving in on you, and that is so tough to avoid.
It is difficult, and of course we are very much sort of Flash Wolf favored for the time being. It's a small gold lead, but it's the team composition and the way that it all adds up that makes you feel like they're going to pull ahead. For anybody that watched the first game that these two teams played, there was a narrative that I introduced talking about the gold leads. And that was because Flash Wolves were chasing on the largest gold lead at 15 minutes of the entire MSI tournament for 2018. The record is a little over 8,000. They fell short. They only got it 6,200.
Only a little.
Only a
Slacking.
little, right? But you compare it to this game, where as we get closer to 15 minutes, it's only 900 gold. EVOS still have very good pick, team fight opportunities and possibilities, but they can't afford to fall behind now. You see Trinity Force has picked up. The banner that you've just talked about, getting closer to Essence Reaver for Betty. So these next 8 to 10 minutes, I need to see a controlled EVOS that don't fall behind.
And the fact that the bot tower hasn't gone down yet in favor of Flash Wolves is definitely a positive, because Slay and Ron still have a lane in which they can get themselves some farm. We haven't seen the Gangplank ulti really used proactively yet towards the bot side, but now that we see both Moojin and Maple roaming around throughout the river, this will give them an early Drake that will just enable Hanabi and Betty even more to keep looking for these laning trades.
And it sounds a little bit funny to say, but there's going to be a roam up to the top side, so we'll see if Hanabi can get out of this.
There's a flash for Hanabi, but I don't know if he's going to use it. Cannon Barrage comes down. Good double team, and this is something you guys talked about, how Warzone could put Gangplank behind.
Yeah, very nicely done by EVOS, and Flash Wolves at the same time. You know, it sounds funny to say, but they can be pretty happy sometimes with playing an extended laning phase when you have Gangplank who's going to be farming off of this Ornn who's going to be scaling up, when you have a Trundle who's going to be outscaling the Skarner and a Karma who's going to have a lot of teamfight effectiveness. You don't always need to actually pressure and try to get a turret. You can just sit in these extended laning phases and wait for your item spikes to come through.
And Azel, you talk about the extended laning phase. Despite being down 30 CS, Hanabi's up 300 gold. And there's just a replay of obviously Stark setting it up and Warzone bringing it home.
Yeah, it's nice to see that EVOS aren't just sitting around, not doing anything, waiting to sort of lose control over the map. Making plays towards the Gangplank is kind of a shift in terms of their playstyle after failing to find any big avenues down bot. And now they've actually been able to close the goal gap a little bit. One of the big reasons why Flash Wolves is able to stay even is because their AD carry has a big lead, but also because of the Kleptomancy gold that Hanabi is picking up for himself. So EVOS, much better early game compared to when they last met.
Definitely very, very much better. I
Yes,
mean, last
there's
game
the understatement of the
last game
century.
was essentially decided by this point. So EVOS is very, very close. But we want to see them continue to use their playmaking abilities, right? I am really looking at the Skarner. I'm looking at the Skarner ultimate. You need to continually attack your opponents, use your advantages there, because their CC is very powerful. And if you continually get kills with your Skarner ult, with your Ornn ultimate, and these big playmaking abilities, that's how you can kind of get the game going more in your favor and establish the gold leads that you may need to win some later team fights.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on the coordination. Azel, I've got a question for you. We've discussed backstage itemization a lot, and good things, bad things. What do you make of the Jhin build with the Swifty boots into rapid fire cannon? Do you like it? Do you dislike it?
So I think against a team like this, it actually makes a lot of sense because you have a lot of trouble staying safe and maybe a fight breaking out, but essentially the thought process here with Swifty Boots and Rapid Fire and the Fleet Footwork is you have a lot of movement speed, you can move around, and you should always be able to get your fourth shot off for these beneficial trades. I'd also say the added benefit here is, you know, the reduction in slows coming up from a Trundle pillar, the Gangplank ultimate. There's so many things you have to stay safe from, and you know the difference between a team fight where he steps just barely back enough and avoids SwordArt's engage and one where he does not can completely decide a game. So I think it makes a lot of sense here.
I also think the added range makes it easy to farm during the laning phase and just have that extra bit of trade, you know, because if you are able to land the long range picks, which you do have with a Morgana and a Jhin follow-up, it means that you're guaranteed to at least try and get one auto off with a bit of extra damage and just add a bit more value to the poke. So I think that there are multiple different options that you have there with going for the early rapid fire.
Plus, it's always fun to make race car noises. And
Also true.
Race car noises. Please add them for me when you feel it's appropriate, Azel. By the way, at the beginning of the game, I said that Flash Wolves in 4 out of 5 games had the Dragon. It is now 5 out of 6 for the first Dragon. They also have secured first Tower Blood in every single one of their games. Yijin has found the Flash Impale. The tower will fall in the backside, but the call of the Forge God comes down. Will EVOS win the team fight? The damage and the combo from the Flash Wolves is tearing EVOS apart. The first victim is Yijin. Stark gets taken down as Moojin chomps him out. Hanabi's able to flash for safety, and look at that Pillar of Ice. It slows down 3 members of EVOS. RonOP gets realm warp to safety, and EVOS escape with 3, but they lose the tower and 2 of their members.
Man, Stark played that fight as well as he could, but it was Hanabi that was ripping the backline apart of EVOS. They tried to force a fight because they recognized, hey, we need to go for something, and we can get a good fight set up here with Stark coming in from behind, but unfortunately, in terms of the execution and in terms of individual playmakers, it was Flash Wolves that were able to come out on top.
Yeah, and the Black Shield was missing from Slay. You can't allow that Jhin to get caught like that when you're investing into all this move speed, we're investing into that Morgana Black Shield for that pick. You need to keep him safe. He got comboed by SwordArt. He lost 89% of his HP, both defensive summoners. Your AD carry is out of the fight. You now cannot win, and he cannot re-enter because of the threat of someone like Betty or Maple just killing him in one hit.
In the blink of an eye, it feels like a 4,000 gold lead. And this is exactly the composition of the strengths we're talking about.
And just watch the combo here onto Slay and RonOP. The Black Shield was used on Skarner. They both get caught. Look at Slay's health. He already has to heal. He has to get out of there, committing those summoners. And when you're this low, you just can't re-enter the fight. How is Stark supposed to have that assistance, when he is pushed that far back?
And you can see Hanabi, after all of the initial work was done, he's able to just clean up a lot of the backline fight. And it was just like a 3-man knockup into Ryze, basically just only being able to hit Moojin in front of him. One of the big weaknesses of Ryze is the fact that you can body block. He does have the short range on a lot of his abilities too. And while his damage was high, that damage wasn't impactful enough to swing the fight in EVOS' favor.
And you just look at the AD carry difference there, right? More than double the damage put out by Betty because Slay was chunked out so quickly. And it comes down so much to execution in these fights as Moojin has a little dance.
Just busting a few moves there.
I saw you busting some moves yesterday.
Oh, I tried my best. Garen impersonation. It's one of my favorites. And as it stands, Stark was looking for SwordArt, but he's just going to use all the mobility to escape. And, you were talking about the difference in CS. You can see how Maple, while he's behind Warzone, got some damage to back up now. Shirelia's Reverie on Ryze. Not used to seeing that one. QSS on Betty. He's one of the AD carries that picks up some of the utility earlier on in the game. And Flash Wolves at 20 minutes, sitting comfortable, looking like they're going to completely take over the map.
Yeah, the Shirelias on Warzone is definitely unique to me. We talked a lot about how mid laners value the... sorry?
Race car noises.
Race car noises, that's the main reason. Now, Hanabi instant danger.
It is indeed. Yijin and are going to be able to combo with Warzone, take down Hanabi.
The long-awaited question has finally been answered. Who would win in a fight, a pirate or a scorpion? Turns out that if a magical wizard gets involved, very easy win in favor of EVOS. Gets them an extra kill on the board and starts to close the gap a little bit.
I don't think we're reading the same books, my friend. As it stands, EVOS get themselves a pick. Compliments of that Realm Warp and the Impale, but they're still very far behind. They can't afford any more big mistakes. I mean, look at Hanabi. He's got the Ghost Blade already to complement the Triforce, and Flash Wolf is starting a very bold barrel.
There's no vision from EVOS here. I don't know if they have any idea.
No, I think they have no idea. They're actually just doing Dragon, but great, we're sneaking a Dragon. Well, unfortunately for them, on the other side of the map, yeah, this is just probably going to be Flash Wolves.
Oh, now they're a question mark. They're like, wait a minute.
Kudos to Flash Wolves. Slay is nearby, but Baron is already going to get secured here. Smite comes down. I held my breath for a moment. But 20 minutes and 47 seconds in, Flash Wolves read the map flawlessly. The grand entrance into the quickness. Warzone's in trouble. Pillar of Ice slows down the escape as the Subjugate is removing the resistances. Ron is not so OP when 4 members drop on his head. And Flash Wolves are sending themselves up to go 6-0 in the group stage.
Yeah, and I mean, the mini wave is already prepped on the top side. They already have this huge lead. The Baron buff minions is going to mean they're going to get the outer tier 1. They're very likely going to go straight into the tier 2. Mid lane is being pushed. The banner is available for Maple, so this Baron power play has the potential just to explode this gold lead.
EVOS have not come in with the highest expectations surrounding them, but you cannot take away anything from how well the Flash Wolves are playing right now.
Well, take a look at that. Yijin's going to bring the Impale back. SwordArt takes a lot of damage. Enough for Yijin to close out. The Realm Warp will send Warzone into the middle of the fray, and the target's Hanabi. He gets taken out. Call of the Forge got from behind. EVOS will not go quietly into the night as they shut down Maple. That's the 4th of the fight. Baron buff and the Baron power play will be impacted. But a reminder that EVOS are still 6,000 gold down. That was a great team fight, but they need a whole lot more.
But that was still a huge team fight, quick shot for EVOS. The fact they find 4 kills onto a Baroned up Flash Wolves who had such a big lead would give them so much more momentum coming back into the game. Think of all the towers they'll be able to pick up, and they might even look for a kill into Betty.
Well, they're going to try. Bella's Breath is started by Stark. Not going to be followed up, though. Maybe just buying some time, zoning Betty away so Warzone can chip away at that tower. While that happened, though, the mid-outer falls. That's only the 2nd of the game for EVOS, and that's, again, it's more control. It's more gold for the EVOS squad.
But really careless, honestly, from Flash Wolves. They're trying to dive an inhibitor turret with the tier 2 still available. Your AD carry, who is super strong, up in the top lane. This is not something you need to go for. Just take the turret. You just got Baron. You're getting 2 turrets on the top side. They're going in so far, trying to dive past that. Yijin gets pulled in. The rest of the team is trying to follow up in between 2 turrets while Betty is on the top side of the map. That's not something you can really go for, and it just feels like not giving that respect to your opponents.
Hey man, they still got the tier 2 turret.
They did.
It only cost them 4 people. I mean,
Thing is, when you see how those team fights go, EVOS have some great team fighting tools if they can find the right targets and have the opportunity. But as it stands, Slay needs to get a lot more damage. He's got himself the Infinity Edge, got himself the Rapid Fire Cannon. There's a Void Staff for Wallstone, so they are scaling. They're becoming a lot more relevant.
thing is, there's a minute left on the Baron. Flash Wolves with the goalie that they have, they might look to go for another fight right now, given the strength that they're feeling. And yeah, they're using the Gangplank to just zone EVOS away.
They are
and secure
indeed.
themselves another in hit.
Follow SwordArt, follow SwordArt. He's got himself a flash, he's got quickness available. There's only one black shield on the side of EVOS. The inhibitor may just go down. There's SwordArt, insta-flash from Slay. Stark manages to get the call of the Forge Guard down, but it's not going to be enough. The feathers fly, called back by Betty. Stark will be falling after. The inhibitor's the next target is now Slay flashless, gets run down. This is looking like an ace for Flash Wolves. The shutdown onto Warzone. RonOP gets knocked up into the air. Flash Wolves are going to consider the dive into the Fountain Tower. RonOP's healing up, manages to survive, not long enough. It's an ace for the Flash Wolves and the base to determine the game. The Nexus turrets are falling, and just as the Baron buff times out, Flash Wolves remain undefeated at 6-0. Flash Wolves take down EVOS.
It was competitive through the early game, but it was Flash Wolves that take over in that mid-game. 20-minute Baron, a master stroke here, was not spotted by EVOS until much too late, and they played their composition extremely well.
As they always said it, the team composition from Flash Wolves, it had this gigantic spike in the mid-game. 1 and 2 items. Flash Wolves used that exceptionally well. And despite the growth that we are seeing from EVOS, the improvements game on game, it's just not enough to topple the #1 team at MSI.
And it's so hard to really make a Jhin pick work into a composition like this. They put so much of a difficult responsibility here onto Slay. I mean, he only gets out 6,000 damage or so, which is so much less than you really do need.
He got shut down in the laning phase. He was so far behind. And while Slay, in the final team fight, he had a couple of clutch flashes, it wasn't quite enough at that point in the game. And Flash Wolves just continue their dominance. It is so impressive how after the loss of Karsa and after the loss of MMD, they pick up 2 rookies, their first appearance on an international stage, and they just crush the competition.
6-0, looking safer and safer. The next team below them only has 3 wins. And of course, if you look down at EVOS now with 1 win and 5 losses, it becomes exceptionally more difficult for them to try and crack the top 4, to try and crack that semi-final round and the trip to Paris.
Especially when you look at the quality of teams that they would have to be able to defeat. You almost have to run the table at that point.
Yes.
If you are EVOS, but while Flash Wolves aren't locked in, they're getting pretty close.
Oh yes, very, very close indeed. I would like to show you that final team fight that's brought to you by Acer Predator. And Vedius, you were talking about just how good they were. I was talking about SwordArt in the engage, and he just pinpoints finds Slay, zones him away.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of good stuff that happens from Flash Wolves here. Slay, he recognizes it, and then with a very quick flash, but then the charm is still available for SwordArt. He uses it onto the Skarner, so that even though an ulti comes in onto Betty, he doesn't actually go anywhere.
And I love how Flash Wolves are just acting as bodyguards for Betty, essentially, here, escorting him, and he's playing against the wall. There's no real way for Warzone to actually get any cues through to him. They're blocking all the skill shots. They know he is their win condition, and you know, Betty playing out these team fights, and honestly, the entire tournament so well, showing us another pick he can be successful on. Doesn't seem like he can be targeted, picks and bans, and he's really just proving he's world class.
And maybe don't give Karma away when the shields are as big as half your health bar. It does make team fighting rather difficult.
Oh, it's so difficult. I look at picks and bans. I mean, what would they not let through? The Zoe, the Vladimir,
that's the thing, right?
There's so many threats when you think of Flash Wolves.
Very true. And when you see more and more the flexibility they have, right? It's the same problem that people talk about with Kingzone. How do you ban them out?
Yes, I don't know if you can. We'll find out, of course, because Kingzone will be coming up next, taking on Team Liquid. Let's see whether or not TL can go 2-0 on the day. Don't go anywhere. Managing to get some damage down, continues to trade back and forth, down to 100 HP, defensive flash, first blood, picked up by EVOS. Oh, GP ult's available, where is it? No ways, that's a double root, managing to turn this around, but the call of the Forge God comes down. Will EVOS win the team fight? The damage and the combo from the Flash Wolves is tearing EVOS apart. The first victim is Yijin. Stock gets taken down. Enough for Yijin to close out. The Realm will send Warzone into the middle of the fray, and the target's Hanabi. He gets taken out. Call of the Forge God from behind. EVOS will not go quietly into the night as they shut down Maple. Flash Wolves remain undefeated at 6-0. Flash Wolves take down EVOS.